Maybe it's not a coincidence that you stumbled upon this video. Maybe it found you at the exact moment when you're tired, unsure what you're even living for anymore. When everything you once believed in starts to shake. When the future feels like a blur. When you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person staring back. That's when Stoic philosophy begins to speak. Stoicism doesn't promise an easier life. It doesn't sugarcoat the truth. What it gives you is something far more valuable, the strength to stand firm in any storm. It teaches you to let go of what you can't control, to master your emotions, and to act with discipline even when the results aren't visible yet. This video is here to remind you of something you may have forgotten. Your inner strength is still alive, quietly working in the background, no matter how chaotic life gets. If you're searching for direction, a new belief, or simply a reason to keep going, stay with it because maybe, just maybe, this video found you at the exact moment you needed it most. Number 1, release. What's beyond your control? Stoic philosophy teaches this. There are things you can change and things you can't. Wisdom isn't about how much you can change, but about knowing the difference between the two. Imagine pushing on a door clearly marked, pull. The harder you push, the more stubbornly it resists. That's how many people live. The more we try to change what's out of our hands, the more powerless we feel. Then we blame ourselves. Then we blame life. A mother sits in a hospital waiting for news about her child. The doctor hasn't come out yet. She clasps her hands in prayer, hasn't eaten, hasn't slept, her heart racing. She believes worrying is something she has to do, as if it helps. But really, there's nothing she can do in that moment. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing that this moment calls not for action, but for presence. It's the moment to breathe, to feel the pain fully, and to stop running from it. You stay not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to face it. Have you ever felt drained just from waiting for someone to text you back? One notification can send your heart racing or make your stomach drop. You can't control whether they reply yet. You let it control your entire day. In moments like that, ask yourself, if I can't control the outcome, why am I letting it control me? Stoicism says you are only truly free when you stop letting external events hijack your inner peace. The more you cling to a specific outcome, being loved, being understood, being promoted, being the best, the more you trap yourself in an illusion of control. You begin to live as if happiness only exists on the other side of some condition being met. But life doesn't operate by your expectations. Real happiness isn't found in what happens. It's found in your ability to accept and adapt to whatever does. Picture an elderly person sitting with a cup of tea, sunlight streaming through the window. They've been through war loss and betrayal, and yet they smile not because life was easy, but because they've learned to stop bracing. That's the beauty of letting go. It's not surrender. It's understanding. You stop fighting fate not because you've lost, but because you no longer need to win a game that was never yours to play. A friend of mine once went bankrupt. He lost nearly everything and was obsessed with getting it all back. But one day he sat down and wrote a question. If I never recover what I lost, can I still live well? The answer didn't come right away. But weeks later, he started teaching again, helping young people avoid the mistakes he made. Only after letting go of his expectations did he truly begin to live again. If you want to start practicing the art of letting go, don't wait for a life-shattering event. Start small. When you forget your umbrella and get caught in the rain, instead of getting frustrated, slow down and feel the droplets on your skin. When someone misunderstands you at work, instead of getting angry, ask yourself, do I really need them to understand me right now? Letting go is a life skill. Like a muscle, it's built through small, consistent repetitions. Try asking yourself this one question every morning. What am I trying to control today that I really don't need to? Then try releasing it just once. You might find you lose nothing at all. You gain space for clarity, for stillness, for a life not suffocated by constant striving. And then you may notice a quiet truth. The right things often show up when you stop trying so hard to force them. Just like this video, it found you not because you were searching, but because maybe, just maybe, you were ready to listen. And once you've learned to breathe and release, another question will emerge. If I no longer need to control everything, then where am I rushing to? And that's where the next lesson begins. Not racing the world, but learning its rhythm. A lesson not about speed, but direction. A lesson in real freedom. Number 2, you're not in a race with the world. From a young age, we are taught that a person's worth lies in their achievements. Praise comes with high grades. Pride comes with getting into a good university. After graduation, it's all about the job, the money, the perfect relationship, the kind of life that makes others just a little envious. That's what we call success. And just like that, we stop living. We start running. Stoic philosophy teaches that a life worth living isn't measured by speed, but by depth. But today's world runs in the opposite direction. It pushes you forward endlessly, like an escalator with no end. Stop, and you fall behind. Stop, and you're outdated. Stop, and you lose your worth. Strange, isn't it? A friend of mine who used to work in advertising told me he woke up every morning feeling like someone had a gun to his back. No one told him he had to constantly pitch new projects or come up with brilliant ideas every day, but if he didn't, he felt like he was falling behind, and that fear was more powerful than any deadline. This constant chase seems productive. You're always striving, always improving. But really, it's just a hamster wheel. You're spinning in place. You're not living your truth. You're living what you think others will applaud. A young woman I met at the airport had just quit her job after 5 years of working like a machine. She said the work didn't exhaust her as much as the constant comparisons, co-workers getting promoted, classmates buying homes, exes getting married. Her life was fine, but she wasn't happy because in her head was a list of things she should be doing, none of which truly belonged to her. Stoicism teaches that peace doesn't come from having more, but from knowing what's enough. The race ends the moment you dare to step off the track. The scary part isn't being left behind. It's never asking, what am I even chasing? Some people spend their whole lives meeting everyone else's expectations. Parents, friends, society, without ever once asking themselves what they truly want. And one day they find themselves standing in the home they bought beside the partner they chose, working the job they once dreamed of, and realizing they don't belong there. So what now? No one's saying you should give everything up and go live off the grid. But you can learn to pause while still moving. When you work, don't just work to hit your KPIs. Stop for a second and ask, does this matter to me? When you scroll through social media and feel someone's ahead of you, pause and ask yourself, do I really want that? Or do I just want the validation that comes with it? An older neighbor of mine walks around the park every morning, no phone, no headphones, just him and the trees. I once asked why he didn't listen to a podcast or do something more productive. He smiled and said, busy is how the world makes you forget you're alive. It sounded simple, but there was wisdom there I didn't understand until much later. When you learn to sit quietly with yourself, you realize you don't need anything more to feel whole. Stoicism doesn't teach us to withdraw from life. It teaches us to engage with life with clarity. You can still work, you can still strive, but not to prove you're better than someone else. You do it because you know what truly matters to you. Then, you're no longer running. You're walking with intention. Do you feel like you're in a nameless race? Have you ever stopped to ask, what would really happen if I just paused? The answer might be nothing, and sometimes that's exactly what you need, a quiet moment to remember. That life isn't meant to be an endless competition. It just needs you to show up with presence and the courage to choose your own path. If this video finds you at a moment when you feel exhausted, that's no coincidence. It's a reminder you don't have to rush. You just have to be real. And if this message speaks to you, share it with a friend who's tired too. Maybe they need to pause as well. Subscribe to join me on this journey, not a race, but a path to awareness. Number 3. The ego isn't the real you. Most of us live with a nagging sense that we are not enough, not good enough, not right enough, not like everyone else. We chase after some ideal version of ourselves that society holds up more competent, more successful, more emotionally in control. But the more we chase, the more disconnected we feel from who we really are. We grow afraid of failure. We armor ourselves against pain, and most importantly, we forget that inside us, there's still a part untouched by the world, a part that is always calm, always whole, always knows exactly who we are. That is the true self, not the me on LinkedIn, not the me filtered through other people's opinions. It's the part of you that surfaces at midnight, when no one's watching. It's when you fail and don't collapse, when you're misunderstood and feel no need to explain, when you lose everything you thought mattered and still know you're intact. The Stoics taught that the only things fully within your control are your thoughts, your choices, and your attitude. No one can take those from you unless you give them away. So the true self isn't something you build, it's something you return to. But here's the paradox: no one teaches us how to return. We are taught to fight, to rise, to win, and in that process, we lose ourselves. Picture a young mother returning to work after maternity leave. She used to be confident, capable, and recognized. Now she feels like she's fallen behind, like she has to prove she's still enough. Every bit of feedback from her boss, every colleague's success feels like a quiet accusation. You're not as good as you used to be. She starts doubting herself, pushing harder, burning out. Then one day, while tidying up the bedroom with her baby laughing nearby, she feels a strange sense of peace. No deadlines, no performance metrics, no pressure, just a quiet knowing. I am still me, no matter how others see me. That is when she reconnects with her true self. And it doesn't come from thinking. It comes from softening and seeing clearly. The true self also shows up in ruins. A man loses his job, his savings, everything in a failed business deal. But instead of breaking, he feels lighter. He says, I have nothing left to protect, so I have nothing left to fear. In that moment, he sees that he is not his job, not his bank balance. He is the one who can get back up, learn again, and keep living. The Stoics taught what remains after everything is taken away. That is who you really are. So how do we live closer to that self every day? Start by noticing the moments when you overreact to criticism or feel the urge to prove yourself. Those are signs you're drifting from who you are. Ask, who am I trying to be for others right now, and does it really matter? Remind yourself you don't need to be liked by everyone. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to be okay all the time. You just need to be honest with yourself. Make space each day to listen, not to meditate in theory, but to simply sit. No phone, no scrolling, no doing, just sit and feel what's going on inside. Every time you do, you carve a path back, and slowly, you'll see that quiet place within you has always been there. It's just been hidden beneath layers of fear and expectation. You don't need to become anyone. You just need to come back. And when you finally touch that deepest part of yourself, you'll realize something: the things you thought broke you, failure, loss, pain, they never really did. They only wore away the outer shell so your real self could begin to show. And that's the next lesson. Let go of the idea of being broken to find freedom where pain isn't a mistake. but a doorway back to who you truly are. Number 4. There's no such thing as broken. You are not broken. You're just living in a world that keeps trying to convince you that you are. They say you have to be strong, always in control of your emotions, that if you feel lost, something must be wrong with you. But in truth, feeling lost is perfectly normal. None of us was handed a map. No app can guide your soul. Not knowing where you are or where you're headed doesn't mean you're falling apart. It just means you're alive. I once met a young man, 30 years old, an honors graduate working at a big company with a stable salary. But he told me, "I feel like a failure. My friends are married with kids and I still haven't figured out what I'm doing with my life." I didn't say much. I just asked, "Who told you you're a failure?" He went silent, then broke down in tears. Those tears weren't weakness. They were the relief of finally being seen by someone who wasn't trying to fix him. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be numb to emotion. It teaches you to recognize what belongs to you and what doesn't. Society's gaze, not yours. Other people's expectations, not yours. That voice saying, "I'm not enough," often not yours either. The harder you try to mold yourself to fit those standards, the further you drift from who you are. Instead of thinking you need fixing, try observing yourself the way you'd observe the sky, sometimes cloudy, sometimes clear, but no sky is ever broken. It's simply moving through its own weather. So are you. Days of exhaustion, confusion, or vulnerability, they're not proof of failure. They're part of being human. There was once a man who went bankrupt 3 times, divorced twice, and nearly gave up on life. But instead of punishing himself, he sat down and wrote out every thought without judgment. A year later, he became a counselor to others. Not because he was flawless, but because he understood no one needs to be fixed to be worthy of being heard and loved. Try this the next time you feel not okay. Don't rush to fix it. Don't soothe it. Just observe the thought like an uninvited guest. Ask it, "Who sent you?" and let it leave on its own. When someone makes you feel not enough, don't argue, just smile. Silence isn't surrender. It's your quiet way of saying, "I don't owe you any proof." In your daily practice, try rewriting your own definition of broken. Cross out everything you've been told by parents, teachers, ex-lovers, or social media. Start fresh, "I am someone who," and instead of listing mistakes, list what you've survived, the times you got back up, the moments you chose calm over rage. That's the Stoic way, not denying emotion, but refusing to let the past define the present. You once believed you were broken, but you never were. You're just a human being in the process of living, and living is messy by nature. If no one is truly broken, then trying to fix yourself is just another way of avoiding self-acceptance. Can you see that now? If there's even a single moment in this video that helped you breathe easier, let go of the pressure to be right, or stop trying to be someone else. Maybe you've heard exactly what you needed to hear right now. And if that's true, I hope you'll share in the comments. What part of yourself did you once believe was broken, and today are you ready to name it more gently than let it go? I truly want to hear your story, because who knows, your words, even just a few, might reach someone else who's quietly carrying the same crack. And maybe like you, they're sitting here watching this video at the exact moment they need it most. Don't rush away just yet. If you've made it this far, you've already come halfway, and the deepest, truest part of your journey is waiting just ahead. Number 5, feel your emotions fully. There are mornings when you wake up like any other day, but inside it feels like something heavy is pressing down on your chest. Nothing specific has happened. No one hurt you. There's no crisis, and yet something inside you feels cracked, quietly aching. You don't even know why, but you feel like crying. In those moments, our instinct kicks in. We try to stay rational, suppress the feeling, tell ourselves to be strong and keep busy. scrolling through news, checking social media, jumping into work, chatting about nothing important. But the more we run, the deeper that quiet sadness seeps into the corners of our mind. Have you ever felt that way? A kind of sadness you can't quite name. Stoicism teaches us not to run from emotions, not because emotions should rule over reason, but because if you can't face what you feel, your reason won't function properly either. The human mind isn't a machine programmed to only move forward. It's more like a garden. If you ignore the weeds, they'll eventually choke out everything you've been trying to grow. Accepting your emotions doesn't mean letting them control you. It means having the courage to sit with yourself, to feel sadness when it's there, to cry when the tears come. You could be sitting in a sunny cafe at noon, hear a familiar song, and suddenly remember someone who's no longer in your life. Instead of pushing it away, you simply nod to yourself. Yeah, I miss them, and that's okay. There was a woman who lost her job just as she moved to a new city. No family, no friends, no direction. At first, she tried everything to stay strong, reading books, exercising, networking, but all of it just left her more drained. Then one night, staring into the bathroom mirror, she broke down crying like a child, not because of the job, but because finally she allowed herself to stop pretending she wasn't hurt. And from that night on, something began to shift, not all at once, not magically, but something in her settled, as if after falling down, she had finally touched solid ground, the kind you can rise from. Stoicism doesn't teach you to always stand tall. It teaches you that falling is a vital part of waking up to your life. We don't get to choose when life flows smoothly. Sometimes everything's going great, until suddenly something shatters. Someone leaves a sure thing, slips away, something once meaningful turns to dust, and you're left spinning, lost in emotion. That's when the Stoic lesson appears. You are allowed to be lost. You are allowed to hurt. Because pain is often a sign that you're moving into a deeper layer of yourself. Emotions are not a mistake. They're proof that you're alive, that you care, that you've loved, lost, and hoped. If you never feel pain, it means nothing has touched you deeply enough. That's why pain can be a gift difficult to unwrap, but inside it lies growth. You might not see that clearly now, but stay with the feeling just a little longer. Don't smother it with logic. Don't rush to label it as negative. There will come a time when you look back and feel grateful that you allowed yourself to fall. Because if you hadn't, you'd never have learned how strong you are when you rise. That's not failure. That's part of awakening. That's what it means to live fully, not just to survive. And maybe if you're watching this video at the exact moment something inside you is breaking open, this is the permission you've been waiting for. You are allowed to feel this. It's okay, really. It's okay, because just beyond this sadness, the next lesson is already on its way. Not to make everything instantly better, but to show you that pain, in truth, is a lesson that always arrives right on time. Number 6, pain arrives. When you're ready for the lesson, most of life's deepest lessons arrive not in moments of joy, but in the wreckage when you feel like you're falling apart. It's not when things are going smoothly, but when you're on the verge of giving up, when there's nothing left to lose, that's when the truth shows up. The Stoics taught that everything happens as it must, and pain is no exception. It arrives right on time, not too soon, not too late. It's not like a friend who flakes on you, nor a summer storm that catches you off guard. Pain comes precisely when you need it most, even if you're not ready to see it. Picture someone who just lost their job after years of dedication. First comes the shock, then the anger, and eventually a hollow sense of worthlessness. But a few weeks later, after the dust settles, a realization begins to take shape. They haven't been passionate about that job in years. They traded their health and time for the illusion of stability. As brutal as the loss was, it cracked open space to reflect, to breathe. The Stoics never said you should celebrate misfortune. They simply said, use it Stare it down like a mirror. Not to blame yourself, but to understand yourself. We are wired to avoid pain. When a relationship falls apart or someone betrays us, our first instinct is to assign blame on them, on life, on ourselves. But Stoicism reminds us, your first reaction doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do after that first reaction. Every painful moment is a choice point. Will you sit with it and learn, or keep running and let the wound resurface in a different disguise? There was a woman once betrayed by her closest friend, a cruel move that shattered her reputation and cost her her job. She could have clung to bitterness. She could have shut down. But she didn't. She asked herself, why was I so vulnerable? Did I place too much faith in someone else? Instead of trying to change the other person, she redrew her own boundaries, learned to place trust more wisely, and became more discerning with her kindness. For the first time in years, she felt wide awake. The Stoics never said pain is good. They said, if you're going to hurt, don't let it be for nothing. Every wound marks a turning point, just like a fever isn't a failure. It's a sign your immune system is kicking in. The mind works the same way. So when you're suffering, don't assume you're off course. Maybe you're exactly where you need to be to learn what's next. Not everyone sees it right away, but eventually everyone learns, either now or later. Many people ask, why is this happening now? Maybe because if it had come earlier, you wouldn't have been strong enough. And if it had come later, you might have lost something essential. Timing is rarely random. Life doesn't wait for your readiness. It just hands you the moment you need to grow, whether you asked for it or not. So if today you feel lost, hurt, or off track, don't rush to escape it. Stay there for a moment. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What truth have I been ignoring? And if no answer comes, that's okay too. You're not expected to figure everything out right now. Sometimes not knowing is part of the journey. And that's when the final lesson begins to unfold. You don't need all the answers today. What you need is to stay with yourself long enough to hear your own heart speak. Number 7. It's okay not to have all the answers. You're standing in the kitchen. In front of you is a kettle on the stove. The flame is on, and you're waiting for the water to boil. You know you've done everything right. The water will boil, just not instantly. And then, like almost everyone has, at some point you do this, you stare at the kettle 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3, still no boil. Frustration creeps in. Doubt follows. You start to wonder, is the stove broken? Did I do something wrong? But if you're patient and don't turn off the heat, you'll see eventually that the water was heating all along. You just couldn't see the progress with your eyes. Life works the same way. There are stretches where you're doing everything right, working hard, being kind, staying consistent, and yet everything feels still. No results, no visible signs. And like the kettle, you begin to doubt yourself. But Stoicism reminds us, change takes time, and the most meaningful things often arrive without warning. The paradox is this: in an age of speed, the strongest people are those who dare to be patient. Because patience isn't passive waiting. Patience is doing the right thing, even when no one's clapping, no spotlights shining, and all your questions remain unanswered. You see this every day, a young mother raising a small child, running on little sleep, juggling bills and responsibilities. She doesn't have the luxury to map out a 10-year plan or finish every self-help book. But each morning she gets up a little earlier to make breakfast. She chooses kindness when she's running on empty. She survives and lives with depth one day at a time, imperfect but brave. That's Stoicism in action. Religion speaks to this too, in a different language, the Bible says. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. That doesn't mean sit still and wait for fate to knock. It means accepting that not everything comes on your timeline. Some doors only open when you're ready inside, not just when you bang loud enough from the outside. Stoicism doesn't tell you to let go of everything. It urges you to master what's within your control today. If you don't know what the next year holds, fold the laundry that's waiting. If you're unsure about your career, give your current work your full attention. If you feel lost, clean your desk. Call your grandma, take a walk without headphones, and let yourself actually feel life. Think about those who plant fruit trees. They don't go digging every day to check how the roots are doing. They just keep tending the soil, watering, pruning, and trusting that if today's effort is honest, the fruit will come when it's time. We are the same. We don't need every answer right now. We just need to do what we can do today. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, don't pressure yourself to figure everything out. Just do one clear thing. Wash the dishes, write a journal entry, call an old friend, finish a small forgotten task. Not to fix the world, but to bring yourself back to the present, which is the only place you truly have any power. Because the scary part isn't not knowing the answer. The scary part is spending your whole life waiting for one, while real life is happening every single day, even before you fully understand it. And maybe this video didn't come to give you a solution. Maybe it's just here to remind you you're doing better than you think. And if you keep showing up quietly, steadily, what's meant to come will come right on time. Conclusion. We've just journeyed through 7 lessons, not hollow platitudes, but guiding lights for anyone quietly struggling through the fog of life. Stoicism reminds you, peace doesn't come from controlling everything, and your worth isn't measured by how fast you can keep up with the world. Your true self isn't found in others' opinions, but in how you face yourself when no one's watching. You're allowed to be imperfect, to feel tired, to hurt. And even if you don't know exactly where you're headed, as long as you keep going, you're still on the right path. Because sometimes pain shows up to shape you, and the silence of unanswered questions, that's where you learn to grow stronger in the unknown. If this video reached you at just the right moment, hit the like button as a quiet affirmation. You're still here, still moving forward. And if you're ready to keep walking this path of awareness, discipline, and freedom, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. We'll meet again at the moment you need it most.